Kicking off at number 5, Bathsheba Sherman.
No! Bathsheba! By the power of God, I condemn you back to hell!
Oh man, don't you just love that scene? And I think it's quite fitting to be kicking off our list with perhaps one of the most iconic demonic entities in recent times, the otherwise horrifying Bathsheba Sherman, first depicted in James Wan's The Conjuring back in 2013. Now, throughout the events of the film, the entity of Bathsheba plagues Roger and Carolyn Perron along with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy and April, after they moved into an old dilapidated farmhouse out in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Not only did Bathsheba turn hand claps into a terrifying horror device, but it was also in the relentless attention to authenticity where this particular demonic entity truly shined, framed by the notorious paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. And that's when we were exactly where James Wan wanted us with this film, because perhaps more so than any other demonic possession film, it kind of felt real, because it kind of was. Loosely based on the true story of the haunting in Harrisville, Bathsheba Sherman was the malevolent spirit of an alleged devil-worshipping witch back in the mid-1800s. As the legend goes, Bathsheba was a direct relative of Mary Town Easty, one of the many women executed for alleged witchcraft in the Salem witch trials of 1692. In 1863, Bathsheba married a rich farmer, whereunder she took the surname Sherman and gave birth to his child. When that child was just a week old though, her husband caught her attempting to sacrifice her baby to the devil, and when she was exposed, Bathsheba climbed to the top of the tree outside the Harrisville home, proclaimed her love for the demonic overlord, cursing all those who would take her land in the future, and hung herself from the branches. There her demonic reign began, and there we have The Conjuring. Yeah. Either way, Bathsheba is pretty damn terrifying.
In at number 4 we have Pazuzu. Pazuzu is a fictional character who is the main demon in the Exorcist horror novels and film series created by William Peter Blatty. The character of this demon was derived from Assyrian Babylonian mythology, where the mythic Pazuzu was considered the king of the demons of the wind and the son of the god Hambi. He also represents the southwestern wind, the bearer of storms and drought. This demon is known to bring famine during dry seasons and excessive water during the rainy season, and is considered to be an evil spirit by all. Pazuzu is often depicted as a combination of diverse animal and human parts. He has the body of a man, the head of a lion or dog, talons of an eagle, 2 pairs of wings, and a scorpion's tail. Pazuzu first appeared in the Exorcist novel in 1971. The novel is about a 12-year-old girl, Regan McNeil, that gets possessed by a demon. The demon is later revealed to be Pazuzu. Even though they never state that he is the demon, 2 references were made about this statue, which was uncovered by Father Lancaster Merrin in northern Iraq. After Regan's mother worries about her daughter being possessed, 2 priests, Merrin and Harris, arrive at their house to perform an exorcism on Regan to force the demon out of her body, but in their struggle to free Regan from Pazuzu, both priests die. 2 years after the novel was published, The Exorcist was released in theaters as a motion picture. In the second installment of The Exorcist, Pazuzu is named as the demon and returns to haunt Regan. The demon is prevalent in each and every movie released. In the 4th Exorcist, Pazuzu was actually shown in his first encounter with Father Merrin in Africa. After the movies, The Exorcist became a television series, and Pazuzu continued to pursue Regan and possessed and killed her daughter. After killing Casey, the demon is able to possess Regan again and is almost able to take complete control of her mind. With the help from a priest, Regan tries to fight back against Pazuzu, and the demon is successfully exorcised from Regan's body. William Peter Blatty's creation of Pazuzu and The Exorcist was based on heavily reported series of events from 1949. Fun fact, there is a true crime case involving a man named John Alexander Lawson that was a self-proclaimed Satanist and demonology lover. He was inspired by the famous demon Pazuzu and changed his name to Pazuzu to pay homage to the demon reference in the movie The Exorcist. In at number 3 we have The Taking of Deborah Logan. The movie The Taking of Deborah Logan is a 2014 American found footage supernatural horror film. It tells the story of a documentary crew making a film about Alzheimer's patients who uncover something sinister while documenting a woman who has the disease. The filmmakers and writers did not base this movie and characters on real life. Deborah Logan is a fictional demon, but the most terrifying nonetheless. Though in the beginning they tried to make it appear as a real person, this film is about a team of students, Maya, Gavin and Louie, who to create a documentary about a woman named Deborah Logan, an elderly woman who has Alzheimer's disease. As the film crew records her daily life, Deborah starts to exhibit increasingly bizarre behavior, but her physician believed this is normal for someone with an aggressive form of Alzheimer's. The cameraman, Lewis, begins to notice that her actions defy normal explanation and believe that something supernatural is going on. Things grow more tense after the group notice that they have a recording of Deborah of her talking in French, talking about snakes and sacrifices, and her behavior becomes so extreme that she is hospitalized. Deborah is possessed by Henry Desjardins, who had disappeared after a series of cannibalistic ritualized murders of 4 girls. If you want to find out more about this possession, you should watch the movie. There is no confirmed ending, and that is the most terrifying part of this demonic movie. Even though it's not based on true events, it really makes you feel like it is. It was voted 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Ain't It Cool News called it found footage done right and stated that it's one of the most effective entries in the popular subgenre of found footage horror. Coming in at number 2, Dybbuk, The Possession. The Possession is a 2012 supernatural horror thriller based on an article written by Leslie Goldstein called Jinx in a Box, and the story that was created by Kevin Mannis. In 2003, writer and furniture refinishing business owner Kevin Mannis purchased a cabinet from a yard sale and claimed it was haunted by a Dybbuk, a concept from Jewish mythology. The word Dybbuk comes from the Hebrew word evil. The term appears in a number of 16th century writings and is a malicious possessing spirit believed to be the dislocated soul of a dead person. It supposedly leaves the host body once it has accomplished its goal, or after being exorcised. The box gained notoriety when Kevin auctioned it off on eBay, including the story claiming that the cabinet was previously owned by a survivor of the Holocaust in Poland, who said it contained the malicious spirit of a Dybbuk, and that the box had paranormal powers and was responsible for this bad luck and nightmares. This box went through a few hands before being sold to Jason Haxton for $280. The museum curator and collector of religious paraphernalia began to research the source of the box and launched a website about it called dybbukbox.com that reportedly received hundreds of thousands of hits and created what's been described as an internet legend. In 2004, Jason sold the rights to the story to a Hollywood production company, and that created the 2012 release of The Possession. The movie tells the story of this so-called demon box, when a dad begins to witness his young daughter acting strangely following the purchase of an antique wooden box with Hebrew markings on it at a yard sale. The little girl became more and more obsessed with this box, and her behavior becomes increasingly erratic and alarming, ultimately leading to the girl becoming possessed by the demon haunting the box. In 2021, Kevin Mannis came out and told Input magazine that the Dybbuk box story was entirely fictional, that he came up with it. And finally, in at number 1, we have The Exorcism of Anneliese Michel. Anna Elisabeth Anneliese Michel was a German woman who underwent 67 Catholic exorcisms over the span of a year, and her story inspired the 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose, the award-winning 2006 film Requiem, and the 2011 film Anneliese: The Exorcist Tapes. When Anneliese was 16, she began to experience seizures and was diagnosed with psychosis caused by temporal lobe epilepsy. Shortly after, she was also diagnosed with depression and was treated by a psychiatric hospital. By the time she was 20, she began to hear voices telling her that she was damned and would rot in hell, and began to hallucinate while she was praying. Her conditions began to worsen, was depressive, and put on different types of medication. After 5 years on psychiatric medication failed to improve her, Anneliese and her family believed she was possessed by a demon. As a result, the family reached out to the Catholic Church for an exorcism. While rejected at first, 2 priests got permission from the local bishop in 1975. The priests believed Anneliese was in fact possessed by a powerful demon from hell, and knew they needed to do anything they could to force this creature out of the girl's body. The priests began conducting exorcism sessions, but through all of this she stopped eating food and passed away due to malnourishment and dehydration after a total of 67 exorcism sessions. The story of Anneliese is still told by many to this day, and it's believed to be one of the most real and powerful stories of demon possession in history.
Number 5 on this list is the reversed demon. This demon clearly took some gymnastic classes when they were alive as a person, because they're definitely flexing their flexibility muscles now in the demon afterlife. The clips that I'm about to show you were posted to the YouTube channel Kisa Weba. They were captured by a security camera and show a demon slowly crawling across the ground. So as we can see, that demon is just slowly meandering along, minding its own business. Now, you may think that this is the end of the story, but it's actually not, because that thing was caught on another security camera in the area a little bit later. Let's take a look at that. Now what on God's green earth is that freaking thing? I mean, it has to be a demon, right? Like, what the hell? Its face is clearly all white, completely inhuman. And now that we can fully see the way that it walks, we get a clear sense of how demonic it actually is. I think the biggest question that comes up through all of this, though, is what is it doing and where's it going? Fingers crossed that whatever it was doing doesn't concern any one of us.
Next up at number 4, Deborah Logan. And really, the truth of the matter is, I need only play that particular clip to highlight how utterly grotesque and terrifying the demonic Deborah Logan is. Because, come on, I don't care if you're the most seasoned horror fan of all time, that scene is well and truly messed up. But in actual fact, we have to give credit where credit is due, because when we say Deborah Logan, we actually mean Henry Desjardins, the malevolent entity that is the true antagonist of 2014's The Taking of Deborah Logan, written and directed by Adam Robital, which, as a side note, is an awesome horror film, and in particular one of the most well-crafted found footage horrors of the decade. The pain and suffering comes from two separate directions for the poor Deborah Logan, as she has been afflicted by the terrible disease Alzheimer's, whilst also being paranormally puppeted by an evil French physician, Henry Desjardins, who uses Logan as a means to return to our plane. As the film goes on to elaborate, prior to the events of this film, Henry Desjardins mysteriously disappeared after a series of cannibalistic ritualized murders of 4 young girls, after which we discovered that Desjardins was attempting to recreate an ancient demonic ritual that would thus make him immortal. Also, my favourite part of this film comes after that particular revelation, where Gavin, the camera operator that serves as the pilot for this found footage documentary, instantly leaves after hearing that particularly terrifying information. As in, we never see him again. Gavin gets one sniff of cannibals and demonic ritualistic sacrifice, and he's straight out of Dodge like a bat out of hell. I'm not exactly sure why, but in an otherwise genuinely terrifying film, that particular attention to detail made this film so worthwhile. Wow, other than the fact that Deborah Logan is freaking nightmare fuel. Swinging in at number 3, Paimon.
Hail, Paimon! Hail, Paimon! Hail, Paimon!
It's always bad news when you've got a demonic cult in your treehouse, isn't it? And it's even worse news when that particular demonic cult has just used you as a vessel to usher forth their demonic overlord. Now, obviously, spoiler alert for those of you that haven't yet seen Ari Aster's resounding 2018 instant horror classic Hereditary, but if you haven't, stop what you're doing, go and watch it, and then come back so we can discuss the demonic implications of King Paimon. Hereditary is a terrifying film, but what makes this particular demonic entity deserve a place on our list is in the even more terrifying implications of his nefarious reign. Perhaps more so than any other demonic horror film, Paimon seems to cut above the rest, despite the fact that, well, we never once see him, and therein lies the rub. You see, whilst Hereditary is very much a film about a demonic entity, it's a film about how one single source of evil can affect the lives of many, many people, hence, you know, the demonic naked cult in the treehouse. The fact that Paimon has an entire chain of command that serves to manifest his evil will on our earthly plane is a concept that has for the most part been entirely overlooked by the genre. I mean, you could argue that The Omen and its sequels were the original progenitor, but I'm not entirely sure whether the number of the beast is equally as terrifying as Paimon searching for a host and making people behead themselves with piano wire in the process. The demon Paimon is the embodiment of despair and hopelessness exemplified within the events of 2018's Hereditary, and in some ways it may be the most visceral depiction of demonic possession in horror. Coming in at number 2, the Gemini Killer.
Gemini is dead.
No, I am not! I'm alive! I go on! I breathe! Look at me! Look at me!
And I'd just like to preface this point with the fact that William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 3 is the rightful spiritual successor to William Friedkin's 1973 classic, The Exorcist, and in its own right is perhaps one of the most satisfying sequels / third entries when held up to most horror franchises. I mean, it should be, given the fact that William Peter Blatty was the author of the original novels, and this film is very much him setting the record straight. And this time, rather than the Pazuzu and Reagan McNeil show, this time we get a whole host of demonic possessions and a whole new, terrifying paranormal concept. In the events of the film, Lieutenant Kinderman is on the case of a murderer investigating a series of gruesome murders that seem to fit the modus operandi of the renowned serial killer James the Gemini Veneman, played by the awesome Brad Dourif, who, strangely enough, was executed 17 years prior to the events of this film. Not Brad Dourif, I mean his character. And well, yeah, you guessed it, the Gemini Killer was so damn evil in his mortal life that his soul was sentenced to eternal damnation, to remain in a state of torment torment as a demonic entity, and as it turns out, the demonic spirit of the Gemini Killer just so happens to take possession of a very familiar figure, Father Damien Karras, one of the two priests to oversee Regan McNeil's exorcism during the events of the first film. As it turns out though, Pazuzu is still kicking about, and the demonic overlord has taken the Gemini Killer's entity under his wing, using his power of possession to enact his revenge on Father Karras, keeping him in a state of eternal pain and inner conflict. Based on Brad Dourif's performance alone, without the fantastically horrifying narrative of this film, the Gemini Killer is one of the most unnerving demonic entities in cinema, and rightly so. And finally, coming in at our number one spot, The Stranger.
온다. 아쿠마. 오마의 아쿠마다.
And this may be a little bit of a surprise to some of you, but just stick with me. And also note that if you haven't seen the incredible 2016 South Korean horror, The Wailing, written and directed by Na Hong-jin, then please do, because it's awesome, and also a true demonstration on how to pull off an utterly unnerving horror movie purely by characterization alone. The truth of the matter is though, there are so many conflicting forces of evil at play throughout the events of The Wailing that on first viewing, it's incredibly difficult to decipher exactly which evil to be afraid of. There's Myung, aka No Name, the woman in white, who may perhaps be an all-powerful god of the land or a malevolent witch that uses people as playthings. Then there's Il Guang, the drifter shaman that seems to have all the answers, but its most unsettling character, alongside many other worthy evil entities, zombies included, is the Stranger, who just so happens to be the devil himself. Maybe. There's a lot going on with this film. However, the most terrifying aspect of The Stranger, hands down, is the fact that although he very much is possessed by the devil, the evil crow spirit, the Tengu of Buddhist mythology, and all of those things combined, what we see throughout the first few acts of this film is the human side of him trying to cling on to whichever morsel of his own mind that is still left behind. The Stranger is very much a tormented victim of this demon, and it's through the extraneous lengths that his human side goes to try and cling on to life and hope that makes it that much worse for us to see as viewers. We don't know who to trust in this film, that's a given, but as those few closing scenes roll around, it becomes very clear that all hope has been extinguished and evil has won. And it doesn't matter if it's a demonic horror movie or not, that's where the real fear lies.
In at number 5 we have Ava in Ava's Possession. Ava's Possession debuted at the Dead by Dawn Horror Film Festival in 2015 and centers around a young woman named Ava that has recently been possessed and successfully exorcised, but now she must learn how to put her life back together. The film begins with a priest successfully completing an exorcism on Ava, who is stunned to find out that she has spent the last 28 days possessed by the demon Nafula. This demon was based on a natural real-life demon by the name of Vapula, who is a powerful Great Duke of Hell that commands 36 legions of demons and is depicted as a griffin-winged lion. This demon is a fallen angel and 60th of the 72 spirits of Solomon and has skills in philosophy, mechanics, and sciences. Vapula, also known as Nafula, is mentioned in many readings throughout history, especially in the world of demonology, magic, and witchcraft. After Ava's exorcism, she went from bad to worse when her actions brought her to cause serious emotional and physical damage, which resulted in losing her job, friends, boyfriends, and potential jail time. Her family urged Ava to accept a plea deal that would spare her jail time or committed to a facility for troubled ex-possessed people if she attended a rehabilitation program for the recently exorcised. Ava began attending this program and it was urged that she took it seriously. If she didn't, it was very likely the demon would return to her and she would become possessed once again. At a group meeting in the facility, Ava meets Hazel, a fellow ex-possessed person that wants her demon to return since she enjoyed its presence and felt it was special for both of them. While Ava is trying to remember her missing 28 days, she discovers bloodstains on her floor and is led to a clue where she soon finds out that when the demon possessed her, she had murdered someone, and she's just constantly thinking what she did to become a target of Nafula. After finishing the program, she soon starts to get her life back together until Ava discovers some old files revealing that her mother has also been previously possessed by the same demon, resulting in her finding out their bloodline is prone to possessions. Fun times.
Number 4 on this list is Cubasev Square. Back in 2015, a video was uploaded to YouTube from an account named D-Man Operator. The video is only 50 seconds long and shows someone getting chased by a demon or monster in Cubasev Square. Let's roll 30 seconds of that clip and see what you guys think about this demon. So the man gets into the park, and just to the left of him is this completely demonic looking spider creature. It's slow out of the gate, but then it starts coming after him. The final 10 seconds of the video is going to show this thing get really close to him and then spit what looks to be some green toxic fluid out at him. Let's roll that now. So yeah, let's put it this way. Whatever this thing was, it definitely isn't human or any sort of animal that we're aware of. Now, can I say for sure that it's a demon? No, I can't, but I can say that it definitely looks very dangerous. Watch your back, everybody. This thing came after this dude in broad daylight in the park. Number 3 on this list is the scariest video that you'll ever watch. That's actually what the YouTubers Mindseed TV titled this video that they posted roughly about a year ago. In this video, several guys are on a ghost hunt late at night in a haunted home. The whole video is roughly 40 minutes long and they capture a ton of cool stuff. One of the scariest parts of this entire video, though, is what I'm about to show. Did you guys see it? It was pretty fast, so I understand if you didn't. From behind the bushes of this man's home, there was a creature that looked very far from being human. Let's get a closer look at this thing, and you guys feel free to comment down below what the heck you think this thing is. So seriously, what the heck is that? It almost looks like it has some underwater qualities, but like, obviously that doesn't make any sense at all. I personally think this is a demon of some kind, but what it wants with this man and where it came from, these are all questions that we may not be getting answers to anytime soon. And finally, number 1 on this list is the hallway demon. This next video was posted back at the end of 2020 and shows somebody getting into a very close encounter with what looks to be a dangerous demon. Yeah, so if that's me, I am getting the hell out of there, folks. I don't care what I think I know about demons or how many freaking boxing classes I've taken in the past. I am not sticking around to see how I'd fare against something like that. Also, let's face it though, the person filming was going through a totally abandoned building that had rumors of a haunting. They pretty much knew what they were getting into with this one. Still though, very scary nonetheless.